Yeah, it's another and it was the first one that I did before she offered. Right. Yeah, we can open it up. Oh, that laptop is screen. That laptop is streaming, and it's got a good view of my arm. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Everyone, welcome to the forum launch party for the new spring issue 24. So happy you're here, and tonight you're gonna be able to hear the actual voices of those in Forum Magazine. We've had some folks here who have signed up, but if you would like to read and you're a contributor, please let us know. Don't think Faye is in charge of launching. Hi, Faye. So if you're interested and sharing your words or art with us, you can talk to Faye. And yeah, so I'm Shantae McCormick. I'm one of the faculty advisors, and this is Stephen Mayers. We really are there to support students, but this is student run, and everything that you see in the magazine was chosen by the students in the class. And with that note, I kind of want to bring up our amazing staff this semester. So come on up if you are working on Forum.
Yeah, so got Susan, Linnell, Brian, Finn, Faye, Dacia, Ilgis, Spencer, Sammy, and Isaac.
Yes. Yeah.
So if anyone wants to say anything, you're welcome to, or you're also welcome not to. But should we mention by like what they did a little bit, or let's just say that really quick. Yeah, I just want to say that a lot of literary magazines are produced in about a year, and we do that in like just over 3 months basically. So it's a really tight turnaround, and these guys work really hard. So we're very proud of them. And it's not a huge number of people working, so everyone worked really hard and did multiple things basically. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the main things that people did, but people did a lot more than that. So the managing editor was Faye Olmos, who kept the whole ship running, and we're super. Also helped Faye immensely as a managing editor. You guys can raise your hand as I call your name if you don't mind. So the poetry team was Susan was the main editor, and Gloria, who's on Zoom over here. Hi, Gloria. And Isaac were the poetry team. The fiction team was Finn was the main editor, and then we had Brian, Linnell, and Sienna were the readers. nonfiction team was Sammy, Spencer, and Gracia. A lot of work. Yeah, and then Gracia and Ilgis also did the interviews. They interviewed Layla Motley, the former poet laureate of Oakland, who has a poem in here, and an interview.
No.
Sorry. Oh, Susan did.
No.
Sorry. No, sorry. I'm thinking. And Sammy helped edit that.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and Ilgis and Gracia did an interview with the co-author. I have to look up her name. Iman, yeah, for a book called Everything for Everyone, a really amazing fictional oral history, futuristic oral history. So these interviews are here and will be on the blog soon if they're not already. I think they will be soon. Let's see, the graphic designers were Ruby, Lee, and Danica Gentleman, who I don't think Ruby or Danica are here though. But let's give them a round of applause. Yeah, we're not gonna leave it. Do you want to mention, well, let me just finish this off. Social media team was Spencer. Team was Tammy and Linnell. And do you want to just mention about visual media design, how they play a role?
Oh, sure.
Just give a shout out
So,
to them.
yes, definitely a big shout out, Colin, who's not here, but wanted to be, he sort of manages the team. And what happens is we just work in tandem, you know, we choose the selections and then at the end, towards the end of the semester, we get a proof back and then we make some corrections and then they start to put it together, all of the design and layout. So it's really a team effort and we've been doing this, I think in its new form since 2009, is that right, around 2009? And it's just always wonderful. And I think this time we had a lot of students show up, which was great, to the actual live proof that we call it. And it's just a wonderful learning experience. So thank you all for joining in on that. And for the visual media team who's not here, but here in spirit, we're saying thank you very much. So yeah, so we're gonna get started. Hopefully you got some food, some drinks, settle in for some excellent reading. And I think we're gonna start with some readers right away. And we have Brian, who's gonna be our starting MC for that. Oh, yes, and the copies, of which we have many, are for sale. You can just go up to the front desk and say that you would like to purchase a copy of this semester's forum. Oh, and a huge thank you to Medicine for Nightmares for hosting this event. So great and kind, and it's always such a good feeling in here and to be able to share words. So thank you again for hosting this. All right, Brian, take it away.
And maybe just mention, yeah, so you probably already did this, but if you're a contributor, you get a free copy, but make sure that Faye gets your name on her list, okay? And if you're a student in, in the class, do the same thing. And then like Shantae said, if you want to buy one, you can grab one off the table and take it to the front to buy it. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
All right, we have a really special lineup of a lot of our awesome contributors tonight. And full disclosure, I didn't check with anyone on the pronunciation of their names. So if I butcher your name, totally feel free to come up here and correct me when I call you up. Our first reader is going to be Rocio Evans.
Thank you. This one is called Cat in Shadows. Green nose, grown moss on a stone, menacing great gargoyle in a sculpture garden. White foxgloves faded in leaves, periwinkle delphiniums. Smoky gray cat asleep in shadow. He befriends a luminous full moon. Curiosity a dream awakens. I slip into a shocked reverie. My summer becomes smudged pastel blue. In a second, perception shifts. My third eye opens, a lapis lazuli door open. I face the menacing gargoyle of my fears, force courage to follow my dreams. Flying ravens, flecks of tiny black stars on its wings. Freedom is her destiny. The last one is called Don't waste your life on selfish men. Love is a dragonfly, gossamer wings as translucent as a pale green drop of spring rain. Love is a portal leading to another world, to illusion. Love is danger. He held the kitchen knife to my throat, threatening to kill me if I left him. You will never make it on your own without me, he said. Deep despair, no escape. Dreams of dying, face down on the kitchen living room floor. Often memory of eating clowns with black bean sauce near a window overlooking Solana Beach with him and his friend Danny. Danny sitting on an indigo velvet panel couch at his beach house, listening to the Doors' crystal shift. In between the spaces of ethereal piano chords, I saw an outline of a ghost crystal ship. Silver ropes aboard, silver rope priestess of the crossroads of my life. A young woman leaving abuse behind, no shelter to go to, no support groups, no friends to take me in, just courage to stand on. He showed up on my door after I refused to see him, refused to return his calls, even after I refused to allow him in the door. He jumped over a wooden fence, saw me in the kitchen, ignoring him, cooking scrambled eggs with tomatoes in a black skillet. A startled look in my eyes as he shattered window glass, jumped into the kitchen, shards of glass exploding all over a kitchen floor, fragments of abuse. I fled out the front door, went into my neighbor's house, asked her to find me. Many years later, at a women's domestic violence support group, our facilitator wrote on a whiteboard with a marker, "The abuse is planned, systematic, and calculated." Lilac letters shimmering with angel light. Don't waste your life on selfish men as I have, a 50-something woman said to a young woman in this group. It was not disloyal for me to have left my abuser, for love is in plum and ruby stained glass windows. Love seeks nothing for itself. Everyone deserves relationships free from domestic violence. Please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They have languages in English, Spanish, and 200 plus for interpretation service. Their hours are 24/7. Call 1-800-799-7233. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
All of their contributions.
Yeah. Maybe you could like, have the data scan for that.
Thank you, Rocio. That was cosmic and intimate and harsh and profound all at once. Thank you. When you guys come up to present, if you are a contributor to the magazine, it would be awesome if you could give the page numbers too of your pieces, because people would definitely like to be able to follow along and locate those in their copies. All right, our next presenter will be Scooter Flynn. Fine, Scooter Fine.
Page 55. Baseball poem. The Buddha sitting in the bleachers as evening falls in a forgotten city, knowing everything counts, every pitch, every at bat, as much as standing and waiting in the outfield, mindful of the count, the lights, the moon, the secret geometry of the night sky and baseball, the satchel page of mysteries to be present. 2. Between innings, the Buddha is recognized by a hot dog vendor. The vendor says, I know. Make me one with everything. The Buddha frowns. The vendor tries again. Change comes from within. The Buddha shrugs. The vendor smiles. Baseball is life. The Buddha nods. All right, I'm going to read a couple more. I'm going to read another baseball poem. I don't want you to think I only write baseball poems, but this book is called Making Baseball Fun Again. So It's on the last page if you have it. If you don't, easy to get. Just talk to me. Anyway. This is called, that was a baseball poem. This is called baseball poem. I'm not really good with my titles. Anyway. Sweet Mookie leaps, glove above the wall, conjuring a sure out of a home run. Who says baseball is no fun anymore? This is 21st century baseball. Life ball players, tatted, bearded, long-haired, and gold-chained, sabermetric baseball. Showboating baseball, bat flip, spin rate, launch angle baseball. Dugout dances, hip-hop, TikTok baseball. Hard throwing starters and even harder throwing relievers. Ball 4, strike 3, and the big fly. The ghost no. Not to forget Mickey, Willie, and the Duke, Murderers Row, the Gas House game. However, that is baseball for another time. 2021 baseball has developed equations designed to reveal the number of stars. Still, baseball is reluctant to give up its mysteries. Possibilities always exist. The other shoe does not always drop. A summer night, baseball on the radio. John Miller illuminates the moonless night with the flight of the ball. Baseball, an existential question, a sequence of events. Does it matter if a taco is a sandwich or is it a hot dog with a taco? All right, I'm gonna read one for my wife, Betsy. This is called the promise of forgotten language. Consider her. Allow silence. Listen to the color yellow, the forgotten language of her. Consider silence. Listen to the promise of her. Consider the color yellow. Allow her silence. Consider the forgotten language of her, the promise of the color yellow. Forgotten language allows her to listen to silence. And the color yellow's forgotten language is the promise of silence, the forgotten promise of yellow, of silence of her language. Listen to the color of silence, the forgotten language of her. Consider her the promise of forgotten language. And one more, I'm going to read one. This one's for Tamina. I started writing in Tamina's class about 5 years ago. And I met her at a party and she was handing out flyers. And so I went to her class and what do you know, I've written some poetry. Anyway, I wrote this in her class. I always liked it. It's called Dream Poem. Walking on deserted street, Uncle Bone, forgotten beatnik saint, appeared scraggly, beard spotted with gray, drunk and mumbling. I'm a day late and a poem short. Believe in something, anything. Belief is a flower, so is the moon. Sky flower, lick the moon, lick the flower. The moon is a flower to eat. Eat the moon, lick the flower. Belief is a flower that grew into a moon. Flower of the night, lick me, we will lick each other and paste feathers to an ancient love. Uncle Bone smiled and disappeared into the moonless night. Thank you.
Thank you, Scooter. Word pictures the action, doing John Miller proud. All right, our next presenter is Sharon Erworth. Oh, Elswit? Yeah, Sharon Elswit.
Thank you. Hello, page 90. Bombus Vosnesensky has your ear. Yes, the two stings were me, same bee. We women carry the swords honed sharper than words, messengers to bumbling giants. You didn't listen when flight muscles vibrating, I murmured, I live here too. There in the hole around the water pipe under the stairs, I serve the queen who birthed me and 50 sisters in that May clutch. No, you do not deserve to hear from me whether a child will become a poet if I land on her lips, that it's honeybees who sting and die. Look us up and then plant yarrow, lavender, blackberries, Rosa californica, And next time, if you're lucky, you will see me, worker, black with a tuft of yellow hair up front, fly straight to the anther. No random Corsica fancy, this is serious survival. I forage where no other has licked before. Colony, me, flower, plum. You want plums. We're fighting to be acknowledged here. So if your ear hurts, this is no apology. And one more, page 100. She didn't know. Because she wasn't wearing her glasses and thought the tall, thin boy across the empty quad was D, whom she had a crush on, she started diagonally toward him across the grass. Because he was smiling at her, she kept walking towards him, even when halfway across she saw he wasn't D, right up to him as if it was what she meant to do. Because she was wound up from that 6 wild weeks as a volunteer in a West Virginia holler, and classes hadn't begun yet. They talked for an hour standing there, no one else around. And then more, moseying along paths through the wood to Kruger Island, where abandoned summer cottages stood on the shores of the Hudson River, and kept going through the afternoon because he was a terrific listener. They ended up cuddling on his bed, but didn't become lovers for another 5 months until house sitting in Barrytown for Mary Lee, where she knew it was going to happen because Mary Lee had said only, "Don't let the mother cat give birth in my sweaters." And the cat scaled up the drawers and had 3 kittens in the softness there. Because they cleaned up and made pasta, adding red wine from jugs they'd found to the red sauce, and went to bed. Not because they arrived with the same manual Hermes typewriters, his elite font and hers pica, or the same plaid dorm room blankets, his brown and hers blue, but because she'd never before met anyone who could seriously see his way out of boxes the way he does, a writer and a reader, surprisingly funny, and so tall, because they've been together now for 54 years, because the tender, almost didn't happenness of this story still makes her laugh, because love was waiting as she crossed the breast.
Thank you, Sharon. That was really beautiful and vital. Our next reader is Daniel Raskin. Daniel Raskin.
What a great audience, wow. So I'm a contributor, and this is on page 14. The story. You liked to watch your father shave. He probably used a straight razor when you first noticed that he shaved. There was a strop hanging on the back of the bathroom door. He sharpened his razor on it. It resembled a belt. You didn't see how he could sharpen steel with leather, but there it was on the door and in Augie's barber shop. Later, he switched to a double-edged so-called safety razor. You remembered a book called Katie and the Big Snow when your father pulled his razor through the foamy white shaving cream. His razor was like the snowplow Katie drove through clear streets of snow. You wanted to be like your father. He wanted to eat seconds and thirds at supper. He wanted to work in the garden. He wanted to be big, strong. You wanted to shave, but you had no beard. not until your puberty was medically induced by hormone injections to address your undescended testicle. Normally, testicles descend from your groin into your scrotum shortly after birth. One of yours didn't, and when the hormone injections didn't work, you had an orchiopexy surgery to move your testicle to where it belonged. The hormone injections, probably testosterone, speeded up your maturation and bulked up your body. Your voice deepened and you grew hair before the other boys. You got a bit of a beard. Now you had reason to shave. You picked the morning before a holiday dinner at the Golds to try shaving. You followed Dad's procedure. You tied a towel behind your neck, washed your face, lathered his shaving cream, and brushed your face with scented foam. You picked up his double-edged safety razor, opened the blade holder, and put in a new blade. You stoppered the sink to make a basin of water. You dragged the razor across your cheek, making a path through the shaving cream. You saw blood. You paused, recalled that sometimes Dad cut himself shaving. You did the other cheek, another cut. You had the wrong technique. To avoid ruins, you pulled the razor vertically. You were slicing horizontally. Should you stop right there, the half-shaven face? Should you try to finish your whole face? Flying in the face of evidence to the contrary, you finished. You had 6 cuts. You rinsed your face. Blood tinted the wash water. You dabbed the cuts with toilet paper. You heard your mother call it was time to go to dinner. You put Band-Aids on the cuts that were still bleeding. You put on your shirt into the car's back seat. You held your head down. You wanted to go to the Golds despite your bloody face. You wanted to see their daughter Denise. What happened? The Golds asked. You didn't have to explain. You managed to endure the dinner. You were bitter. You didn't get to impress young Denise Gold with your manliness. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Our next reader will be Tyler Wong.
Yep.
All right. Okay, talking into a microphone. I'm talking into a microphone. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Hello. Hello. Hi, I'm Tyler. What page am I on? I don't know. Page 4, nope. That's where we just were. I'm page 13, just one behind that. Nice. Okay, page 13. This is called The Cabin. I amputate each piece one by one until the image ceases with age. The dull, stale smell, the leftmost cushion that tilts forward, the orange splotches vanishing in the fabric near my feet, triggering hot, sour flashes in my mouth from the time I was in my booster seat and I gagged while Dad backed out of the driveway. The rigid black rubber pads stuck with dirt and crumbs. The drivers covered in duct tape, all rattling about the grooves at my feet. The folders upon folders of lists, tables, graphs, their illegible lead scribbles, the empty generator, my neighboring passenger, the unmarked CD cases in the door's pockets, some occupied and some empty with blue or black or red writing in marker, Tom Waits, Johnny Cash, Elvis, the vacant cubbies where the radio was, where the speakers were, where the glove box was, where the center console was, and the plastic edges and puzzle pieces and mangled wires jutting out of them. And as the summer overcast pours its rain over the backseat window, warping the freeway and bending its brake light stars, I try to hone in on the patterning against the vinyl roof. I know it's there somewhere, but I can't. The engine groans, the turn signal clicks,
What was the radio hisses, the weight of white noise, unremitting upon this body, tints the world, at least until we reach the driveway.
It's short. All right, let's give it up for Tyler. That was a really descriptive piece. I really just loved all the details you put into your work. It was great.
Thank you so much.
All right, okay, so who we have next? We have, wait, are we going? We have is it Rocio? No. Okay, oh, we have Jonathan Watson next? All right, good job.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to be a contributor. I'm actually on page 22 of the magazine. And my poem is A Lesson in Crying. When scorched by the magnifying glass, the blinding tears can blur the stage mark. Who is first to earn the red roses and applause for exquisite suffering? You must forego method, Ophelia, for clenched eyes and a jaw gait is unfitting. The maven fixes her sight on the last row while daintily stepping in a pool of tears to drown triumphant. Not you, Othello, for we must stand tall with fossil hearts, ignoring us even when weeping gold, for our inherited woes are reasonable if only profitable. Should you lack conviction, fall forward with arms outstretched for the collective bite of a frustrated audience. Only then you will learn to cry on cue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Some really awesome allusions there. Our next reader will be Alina Hansen.
Ooh, I'm a little short. Okay, mine's kind of in the back. If I can find it. 116. Here we go. It's called Thoughts on You. Fog thick in San Francisco. I climb up a hill into the gloom. Can't bring myself to talk to you, mother, without hearing the hateful words you've said. Wet air sticks to my skin and weighs down my dishwater colored hair. I haven't been able to write like I used to, a toad in my throat when I speak. I keep wondering why you gave up on us and dove headfirst off into oil paints and conspiracy theories. On murky days like this, I can taste the ocean when I breathe, willingly letting a stray wind tear at my coat. I don't mind the mischievous fairy's fingers plucking and pulling at pieces of me. Unlike you, a car horn blares, followed by the ding-ding of a cable car bell ringing, the grinding of the line moving through the mechanisms like teeth pressing. I'm trying to hold on to the good memories, believe them back to life, but they lay lifeless in the palm of my hand. Can a city be a home you never had but finally returned to? Yes, but having expectations of someone will always lead to disappointment. Instead of finding what you're looking for, you will receive a half-squished plastic bag of dog shit. The ghost of a couple walking past, the words slip into nothingness. Apartment windows glow. I've known for a while I'll be forever still. Can't create a family because that's where the sickness comes from. I soak in the preternatural rhythms, vibrating through the metaphysical metropolis and simmer. The daggers you spit at Dad, my siblings, and everyone with our blood are buried forever in us, while you leave kindness and empathy for church friends and strangers. I don't understand why you can't see what you're doing. Headlights flicker, searching for passenger. Humanless auto with spinning spider eyes, pauses and turns, humming on its way, more streets to haunt. I belong here, along with Wakeline, ready for the earth to swallow me whole. it isn't your fault, Mother. It's just the way things are.
Wow, thank you so much. This has been just a very powerful first round of readers. I want to thank everybody who's read so far with such clear voices and ideas and beautiful imagery. We're going to take a brief pause, but stay where you are. A pause to congratulate those in this in the creative writing department and the student body. We have a few awards to announce, and I'm going to bring up John Isles, poet extraordinaire and poet professor extraordinaire, and make these announcements.
Thank you. First, it's wonderful to see you all here. Wonderful to be back in this bookstore. It's such a great place for reading. I have the pleasure tonight of introducing or announcing the winners of the Academy American Poets Prize. So that's a prize that colleges throughout the country holds through the Academy of American Poets. So it's, you know, it's national recognition. Your name gets reported on the Academy site. And we had a bunch of wonderful, wonderful poems submitted to the contest. And I acted as coordinator, and Shantae, Stephen, and Cindy Slates were the main judges for the contest. And they could probably tell you the same, but it was really difficult to decide, you know, like what you're going to value, you know, what's speaking to you in a particular poem. I think that there were 7 different poets that were showing up on people's top lists, right? So, and it just reminded me of like, wow, you know, there's really a subjective quality to reading poetry, right? Like we really think hard about what we like in poems, what we value, but it really gave me food for thought. Anyhow, so let me just kind of go through and let me start off with, we have 2 runners up who are, you know, pretty much we couldn't, you know, make up our minds between the 2. So the 2 runners up for the Academy Prize are Quentin Davis for Waiting for a Rainstorm. I think I saw him. And then Carolyn Wolber for the chorus, and I don't think she's here tonight because I got an email from her. But let's give it up for Carolyn. And so the first place that we decided on for the huge cash prize, $100, pretty good, is Ruben Diaz for Emotional Spaces, and Ruben is back here, I think. And I don't have the copies of your poems with you, but if you want to step in at some point and read from your poems, that would be wonderful. You can even dig them up on your phones. If you can encourage them to kind of come up. Anybody want to come up? Quentin or Ruben? Read something? Read anything?
I don't have my phone.
I have it on my phone.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this honor. I appreciate it. I just started writing poems in November after coming back from Mexico and being touched by the stories I was hearing about immigration of people coming up from the south to the north. And it inspired me to write a poem in November, and I really was amazed by putting my thoughts into words and feeling that emotion come out. So I thought I want to learn for real. And so I took a class in City College along with Clinton, my classmate back there. And it was a wonderful experience just being with my classmates, breaking down into small groups and doing workshops and helping each other write these poems. And so if I'm able to read my poem, it's the second version. And it's about my experience with my father as I was growing up, and also my experience with my family as it is now. We were instructed to provide imagery, and I try to do that as best as possible in this poem. So if I can.
One of us between three English.
I think.
I don't want to take up too much time.
No, we'll take long, we'll take long. Thank you. You got it?
Yeah.
Oh, I have it too.
I don't have my phone tonight because I left it at home with our kids in case they needed to get hold of it.
Can you read this? It's, I think like holding it like widthwise and then scrolling up. You got it?
So this is called Emotional Spacious. Driving on 19th, the cabin warmed by light, my wife and sons chat like sweet sparrows in a nest. The dark cavern in my chest returns. Why now? I own a human story whose very telling remarks loss. After school, I watch Popeye beat Bruno, followed by Bugs Bunny berating Elmer Fudd. TV emits light that warms me. My father, living with his other family, hears we live in the projects and delivers a shoebox heavy with cash to lighten his shame. The second time I see my dad, he says, "Mijo, ¿cómo estás?" I smile and wonder who this man is, regally holding court at the table. Mom nervously preparing food and my sister's asking if he'd like a Michelob. His eyes do not find mine as I look for love. No longer at the projects, now playing on the shiny wood floor of our new home, I line up a battle amongst the kings and queens of hearts and spades. Rubber bands flying, defeating foes. Sister, where you play? Emotions playing out while arriving at Unity on 19th and Ocean. The boys go to children's church. At peace with God, I'm grateful to my dad for bringing me to this world. I'm grateful to know that being present is love.
Just a note, Quentin, if you're there, we have poems up now, or you have it on your phone. That'd be wonderful if you'd read. And so while he's coming up, it was interesting, as a teacher, teaching creative writing, it was interesting to see the several of the poems, and especially a couple of the successful ones, like the ones where like, that's really well done, were based on imitations. And we could hear a lot of Lee Young Lee in Rubin's poem, because he actually quoted a section from that. So that was really neat to hear. Quentin, on the other hand, had a more kind of open style, which kind of brought out different things in his voice. So it was just an interesting to hear those kinds of differences. Quentin, what's your thanks?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Waiting on a Rainstorm. There's nothing like an Indiana rainstorm, the way it cracks and muddles and whips away the humid day. Standing amidst the mess of a dirty bathroom, hoping that Seth's sense would return to him. For some strange reason, he thought it worked that way, like in glossy magazine pages where pretty and dumb people look happy. Forced smiles atop blemishes magnified by birthmarks, chunky neck bones, sunken eyelids, faulty organs eroding away with time, trapped within the confines of momentary lapses. He copes by putting on his mother's lip gloss, mouth slightly ajar, rib cage protruding through silk material while top-lit lighting strikes his broad shoulders, shoulders too big for spaghetti strap dresses. When he looks at himself, he wishes he saw something sex-worthy. To be admired in that way instead of living with the radioactive pit forming within his upper organs that host his radio-silent synapses, weathered hands listening to mother's radio. Same robe of skin just eroded away with time. He will forever be stuck waiting on a rainstorm, some sort of violent rapture that may never come.
So I feel a little bit like Santa Claus because I get to announce a lot of good stuff tonight, but really here should be Cindy Slates because she and I worked on the scholarships this semester. So we're also gonna take some time to at least announce, and some people are here that are being awarded scholarships, so like to you know, at least have them kind of stand up or give a wave so we can acknowledge. And I want to say in advance that for City College students, we really want you to apply for more scholarships, right? So there are a bunch of English scholarships, and then there are like a whole set of creative writing scholarships. And sometimes we don't get enough applications for them, right? So get the money, right? It's there for the taking. So I hope that more people will apply for that. All right, so the first scholarship I'm going to announce is for the Bruce Hanna Scholarship. It's a $100 scholarship awarded annually to a student who has completed or is currently enrolled in a creative writing class. So you just got to take a class to do it. So it's kind of like you're getting paid to do it. And so the scholarship winners for that prize are, for that scholarship, are Laura Pugh and Jordan Langdon. I don't remember seeing either one of them, but let's give it up. And then we have the Sam Ewing Memorial Scholarships. There's several of those. The first is for the Creative Writing Scholarship. These students must have completed at least 6 units of creative writing classes and be currently enrolled in a 3-unit class. And the awards for that go to Gloria Keeley and Samantha Randolph. And Gloria, I should say, has been part of the foreign team in past semesters, and I think she's taken all the creative writing classes that we have. And as a former ESL teacher, so I have to mention that at City College, so I should mention that as well. And is Samantha Randolph?
I don't think she's here, but I can tell her that I'm friends with her.
Yeah. Yeah, she may know, but I just like to, I thought she might be here. And next we're going to move to Lit Night scholarships. And this is an amazing one. So we offer, and we paid out 3 this semester, but we offered 4, right? That means we didn't get as many as we wanted. So remember that for next year. Lit Night scholarships must have recently completed or enrolled in at least 1 creative writing class. Submit a personal reflection on doing a reading at one of our lit nights. We actually had some lit days this semester to mix it up. So, you know, do a reading, come to one of the readings, and then just write a little statement about it, and you get $250. Not bad, huh? So the winners, or I'm going to say winners, the awards go to Quentin Davis once again. Samantha Randolph once again. Matthew Serrano. I don't know if Matthew's here. All right. And so the last but not least, we end with the Creative Writing Certificate Scholarship, right? And so that's one where you do have to earn a certificate in creative writing. So that gives me a chance just to remind you of the creative writing certificate. So if you're looking to take a whole, bunch of classes and, kind of build up your resume, either transfer to a 4-year school where you can kind of get that creative writing degree going, or you just want to kind of like put a resume together for your writing, perhaps for editing. The creative writing certificate is a great way to go. And so that requires 18 units of creative writing, a writer's statement, and 3 pages of creative writing, right? So these are offered $1,000. It's big money now, $1,000. And so the 2 awardees for tonight are Issa Curran, so she's here, and Finn Finneran. And then I have to say, just from seeing a lot of emails back and forth, there's a certain amount of bureaucracy in making sure all the transcripts were correct and so on. He just endured back and forth with many, many emails and persisted. So you should almost get more for that, but it's right. So let's give it up for all our poets tonight. And let's get back to everybody, to all of you.
Thank you, John. Yeah, and just a reminder, it's not every day we like beg people to read the creative work, right? Like, what kind of world is that? Like, come on in. All right, so I have a special guest tonight is Tamina Khan, and we recently had a loss in our creative writing community. And I'll let Tamina speak more, but a really talented writer, Vincent Calvarese, passed away very recently. And I believe he published in Forum at least once when I was, several times, yeah. And took poetry for the people. And
He didn't actually.
He didn't. But Tamina Khan is an instructor in poetry for the people, and I'm gonna let Tamina take over and speak more about Vincent and read one of his poems so we can honor him tonight.
Hi, everybody. This is what it's supposed to be. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Vincent Calvarese was full of life, full of poetry, and full of San Francisco. And he was just deeply committed to our work here at City College in our creative writing program and our certificate classes. And as I said, he didn't take my class. I tried to get him to take my class. But by the time I started teaching it, he was done with the certificate classes and he was on doing other things, but he was always present for us. He was always here for us when we needed him and when we needed poetry, as we were going through all the drama and more. He was here for us. I think he was one of our first certificate earners, right? Yeah, I think so. I think he was one of our first certificate earners, and he was always talking about the certificate, about his classes at City College, about poetry. And it still feels very unreal to me that he's gone. I heard about it a week ago, and it's taken about a week to sink in. He had recently moved to Palm Springs, well, not recently, but like the early pandemic, I think. Yeah. So I'm gonna read his poem. Title of the poem is Grief, and this is from Forum, fall of 2017. Grief. Piles of dirty snow pushed to the sides of the streets, a dead squirrel or two unable to retreat. Faces unseen wrapped in wool, smiles are vacant, all gray and dull. Vacant dwellings scattered throughout, broken windows common, shivering with doubt. Spires above reflect a small coffin lined. Mortality left us numb and untimed. Arms over shoulders, hands clasped in pairs. Farewell and goodbye, with a sonnet and prayer. Lifting her slowly into the air, moments later, lowering memories to bear. Tonight and again, the door closed to her room, forever, and then becoming her tomb. Vincent Calvarese.
Yeah.
All right, we'll resume with the readers. Our next reader will be Grace Donka.
Holler if you can't hear me. Thank you to Forum for the beautiful books that you put out and all the wonderful work. This is called. It's called Before/After Row. Who knew my neighbor would know? Short, so blind, he had to rotate the page across his face to read. So loud you could hear him through the wall in the next building. A bomb in a small package most guys thought they could take. But he always listened. When you call, say you're coming from out of town for a physical, and bring $200 cash. My roomie came with on the Greyhound from Baltimore to DC. She waited on a bench across the street, took a break to buy Thale shoes to get out of the heat. I remember the fluorescent lights and his excruciating silence. Accosted years later by his face on the cover of Time magazine, shocked to read about his dirty instruments. Next time I sat on that bench waiting for my roomie, except for a break to shop Thale shoes. The last time across the country, there was fruit and juice in the waiting room, and a woman who explained everything, and someone who called later to see how I was doing.
All right, let's give it up for Grace. Really beautiful poetry. I love the imagery in it. It's very vivid and effective. So thank you for sharing. What is, okay, Grace, we're going up the list? Yeah, okay. And now, Rohan Gandavati is coming up next. Let's give it up.
Thank you, that was a good pronunciation. I have a piece of short fiction on page 31. It's called The Visitor. I'll just read a little teaser from page 32. Now my thoughts were no longer on Jen. They kept wandering back to the static man. I needed to see him again. I couldn't shake this thought. I finished my remaining prep work quickly and made my way back home. I've always been a night owl, preferring the quiet of night to spend time reading or watching TV. It feels like my time. That night, I practically couldn't wait to get to bed and turn the lights off. Once again, the room was dark. The streetlight painted its customary line on the ceiling. I watched the corner for him with an excitement I could hardly contain, but he didn't show up. I kept my eyes fixed on his spot, but there was nothing. Eventually, I fell asleep. That night, I had a dream where I awoke in my bed, looked down and saw my body split in half, my chest leaking tomato juice and seeds that stained the sheets. Thanks.
Thank you, Rohan. When we were reading the fiction group submissions, that piece was pretty compelling to read. Speaking of that, our next reader will be our formidable fiction group editor, Finn Finneran, reading from Gloria Keeley's piece.
All right, so yeah, just to be clear, I'm gonna be reading Gloria Keeley's, and Gloria is actually here with us over Zoom. And she was a classmate of ours as well. And one thing that was really fun about having her in class was this wasn't the first time she had taken this class. Actually, the first time she took it was in 1968. And so it was just so great to have someone with so much history
of this, I forget what she said the name of the magazine was, it was some weird name back then, but it was really cool. I hope I do her poem justice. It is called The Blues. Chicory's blue covers ground. Vines begin their strangulations. Northern magnolias muted low. Easy petal fall, fetched from downbeat nests. Jazzy jive jasmines fade out in the scent of night. Coal fire blue, coal train blue, forming each timber into cool accord. Sin sacks with syntax. Moon rising, yellow gas station sign against horizon, radium pump. The sky, underworld black. Wind jamming fire into the reeds. Magpies circling redwoods. Crackling from the rich brassy storm, asterisks of drum beats pulling the sun over the dark ring, while a boy blows on the empty bottle, echoes of trains in the distance, chugging baseline tracks. The task, just to feed the spiraling chicks, Parker's bird, slipping into starless, amnesiac bark where wild orchids grow. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's give it up for Gloria and let's give it up for Finn as well. Finn, you had an incredible reading voice, and then Gloria, just like your poetry, the imagery was just very striking, and I loved like all of the images it created in my mind's eye. So thank you for delivering tonight. Going up next is Lawrence. I hope I pronounced this right. I'm sorry if I don't. Lawrence Guinchard. Guinchard. All right, let's give it up for Lawrence.
Thank you, one and all. I'd like to observe to Daniel that my mother wouldn't let me shave with a razor, so she bought me a Remington. And it was the most irritating experience of my young life. In any case, I appreciated that reference. And my pieces are called Solitudes Imminent. And it will become obvious what is the structure and form. And each of these pieces is after a work by Edward Hopper. I'll omit the titles. Page 37, I believe. A woman at a window facing outward, otherwise unoccupied. Her accidental horizon parallels the roof line. Her solitude imminent. A woman at a table facing inward, occupied in her moment, in camera lumina, mured to the immediacy, her solitude imminent. A woman lost in her task, absorbed in the mundane, absent in the moment, an inadvertent object, caring not for reflection, her solitude imminent. A woman at her front step, posed for effect, revealing discreetness, anticipating a presence, modeling displayed detachment, her solitude imminent. A woman at her portal waits, pensive and sedate, her patience tested, her arms nested, expectations arrested, her solitude imminent. An usher at a theater stands her position apart, poised and distracted, aglow under dimmed lights, resigned to cinematic moments, her solitude's imminent. Should I continue?
Please.
Yes. A woman exposed, unaware, stands engaged, working at incidentals, overcoming entropy, eternally reordering, her solitude imminent. A woman greets the hard light, aware without regard, choosing distraction, disdaining consciousness, bathed in a radiant breeze. Her solitude imminent. A woman as parlor maid, practicing her trade, addressing her stations in deliberate visitations. Her workday drives to dusk, her solitude imminent. A woman reads, inured to her witness, absorbed by the silence. She's put off her costume, discarded her role, her solitude imminent. A woman is oblivious, the moment has passed, the recreant leaving. She's perfectly ambivalent. He was as she had expected, her solitude imminent. A woman fixated, refining focus, absorbed in her execution, punctuates her rhythm, lost in her stitches, her solitude imminent. A woman distracted, exhausting daylight, welcomes fatigue, submits to recall, repines her piecework, her solitude imminent. A woman resignedly beds, worn by her labors, the miserable heat, the mutable evening, imagining stillness, her solitude imminent. A woman sits her windowsill, and joined by the punctual noise, affirms her position, courts her hours, stirs no disturbance, her solitude imminent. A woman leans on her windowsill, seeks for her children. The meat will be cold, her husband angry. Her options, resignation, her solitude imminent. Thank you for your indulgence. There's a bit more. A woman slumps in an armchair, embraces fatigue. She's received her reward, warmly reciprocated. Her moment is still, her solitude imminent. A woman in the morning after, pleased with her position, confident of her confidant, at peace in her person, emanates the morning sun, her solitude imminence. A woman commuting home in need of no companion, seduced by the quotidian, dismissed her incumbencies, a captive of surrendered time, her solitude imminent. A woman accustomed to waiting, as if the passing scene entertains, as if she raises expectations in the propriety of her presentation, in the calm of her detachment, her solitude imminent. A woman unaccustomed to waiting, patiently containing intemperance, quietly absorbing the implicit insult, the generosity of her person withdrawn, exuding the cessation of consent, her solitude imminent.
Thank you, Lawrence. That was ekphrastic. Feel like I just spent
That's exactly right.
afternoon walking around the gallery. All right, next presenter, or next reader will be Linnell Seguin.
Thanks for bringing it lower. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so my poem is called The Olive Tree Cares Not, and it's on page 118, I believe. So the olive tree cares not if one reads from the Quran or one reads from the Torah. If one prays towards Mecca or one prays towards Jerusalem. If one eats food that is halal or one eats food that is kosher. In Arabic, one greets you, salam alaikum. In Hebrew, one greets you, shalom aleichem. See, they are similar. As the rockets fly overhead, the olive tree waits still for the greetings of peace to bear fruit.
All right, let's give it up for Linnell. I have to say that was a very, very short, but very powerful piece. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. It's really beautiful. Going next is Waverly Chow Scott. Let's give it up. Yeah, all right. There you go.
Do I have time to read the entire piece, or should I choose next?
So it's so.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Waverly, and today I'm going to be reading an essay, Pizza for Lunch. It is an essay, so it will be considerably longer than most of the poems you've heard, but I hope you'll bear with me. Oh, and it is on page 109 if you want to follow. There is a particular memory I'm fond of whenever I think of school lunches, see a miniature pizza, or pass by a yellow box of processed Lunchables in the grocery store. This memory that I hold dearly is one that my dad, the key character in it, hardly remembers. Why do we remember some moments and not others? On a nondescript weekday morning in my early elementary school days, I forgot my lunch. I packed it. I thought I brought it with me. But if I had, I would not be walking out of my classroom without my lunch pail and without emergency cash to purchase a meal at the cafeteria. Our school had a limited rotating assortment of hot lunches for $2.50 and cold meals for $1.75. The hot options were nothing to write home about. They were filling enough and usually paired with a fruit and milk box. But the monthly Pizza Fridays, however, were a delight. They were a delight to me, but disappointing to my Asian American classmates in our predominantly Asian American elementary school. Their parents often sent them to school with homemade alternatives, a superior lunch. It's okay, you can have some of my food. My mom made yum meal today, one classmate said, with what I detected to be a slight tinge of pity. It wasn't hot today, so cold peanut noodles did not sound appetizing, but her mom did pack some of the best homemade food. I'd hate to see how she'd react if I told her that I actually loved Pizza Fridays. How could you not be excited by a personal-sized pan pizza? It was made just for you. With it came a sweet, unlabeled red beverage and pastel-labeled sherbet in the cutest miniature cups. You can have some of my kimbap too, another classmate said, beaming at me. She gently nudged over her box of Korean sushi rolls. Even at a young age, I was suspicious of her generosity. Her mom packed the exact same thing every day, and I considered her offer to not be just out of kindness, but out of the desire to trade lunches in the future. My hungry tummy was louder than my pride, so I ate 2 pieces. As I started coming to terms with my semi-lunches day, I saw a familiar face appear in an unfamiliar space. Was that my dad? Our elementary school had construction ongoing, and it just so happened that there were chain link fences temporarily set up in a maze surrounding the classrooms by the cafeteria. Parents and visitors would usually check in at the front of the school, but Dad had somehow bypassed that. He called my name and I knew it really was him. I was not imagining things. Somehow my dad was standing there, waving at me from behind the fence. Baba, I waved back. My walk turned into a skip when I spotted my red Hello Kitty lunch pail in his hand. You forgot your lunch today. I know, Baba, I know, I said. I didn't need him to remind me. I was already disappointed with myself. It's okay, I made it in time, he said. After some maneuvering of the fence and an affectionate but not too long hug, I let out a sigh of relief. I wouldn't go hungry, not today. Take back your pity, friend. How lucky, your dad came to drop your lunch off. Curious eyes peeked over at me. What did he bring? I knew what the answer was, but I slowly unzipped my lunch pail as chewing mouths rambled over each other, threatening to shower us all in saliva-covered bits of today's lunch. I looked down. It was a pepperoni Lunchables pizza I had chosen from the grocery store earlier that week, but it didn't look right. It was already opened and resealed with plastic wrap. My cheeks quickly turned pink. 3 mini pizzas sat inside, already constructed. Lunchables pizza. He even packed in a yogurt drink and a snack for later, I responded in a self-satisfied way. I hoped this would hide any surprising confusion that may have slipped out on my face, but I wasn't sure if I was successful. Even at my young age, I had already felt the shame that came with losing face. Did Baba not understand? The joy of eating refrigerated processed American food for lunch was that it was fun to assemble it yourself. One classmate raised an eyebrow at me. I told you she'd judge me for liking pizza. Another looked away, knowing very well that my mini pizzas were not meant for sharing. Maybe next time. I took a bite. It was still warm, and the melted cheese reminded me why I prefer things warm, not cold. It only took a second bite to forget why I had any reason to be embarrassed at all. I finished my food quickly, mentally prepared for the second bell to ring, and signaled 5 minutes before class. How lucky, I thought to myself. I've always liked pizza for lunch. The bell rang, students shuffled around, dragging their feet and squeezing in one more joking bite before class. Somewhere deep inside, I felt safe and cared for. Back then, it was hard to know just how much. It was, after all, on the surface, just another errand in Dad's busy day. As I get older, this memory plays back to me from another perspective, from my dad's. Well, sort of. I follow along, imagining Dad finding my lunch pail at home after he's dropped me off at school, realizing we forgot. He forgot it. He wants me to eat, but will he get to work on time? Westward traffic is only going to get worse as the morning unravels and he has a full schedule up ahead. He will decide it's worth being late for. Before he heads out, he will open up my lunch pail to double check it isn't empty and pause. I picture him looking at the confetti of white and yellow cheese, polka dots of pepperoni, and cold discs of pizza crust with a mix of concern and wonder. Then, an idea. As he starts assembling, it occurs to him to pop them into the microwave. Pizza should be eaten hot. When I ask him about this today, he says it sounds familiar, but he doesn't remember. What he does remember is another memory flooding back to the both of us as if we were watching a VHS home video together in 4K. We went to McDonald's and got to go that morning, like we sometimes did midweek. I really liked those hash browns, you remember, he says. I almost choke on my drink. I know exactly where this is going, and it's not just him. I know I'll also never forget this. Dad has saved up and bought his first ever luxury car with all white leather seats. I ruined it within a month. I wait for him to continue preparing to beat him to the punchline. That day, we got you orange juice instead of my coffee. I was worried when I saw how you were holding the cup so crookedly. I told myself it would be fun, but then I braked abruptly at a stoplight, and you? I spilled juice everywhere, I say, finishing his sentence. I felt so bad watching a sweet, sticky liquid soak into the floor mat. Our laughter falls into a comfortable silence as we reminisce. When I think about parents and school lunches, it's not just my dad that I think about. I'm reminded of a specific scene in the TV show Fresh Off the Boat. This show centers around a Taiwanese American family in the late 90s, and in this scene, Eddie is made fun of for bringing his mom's stir-fried noodles to school. His classmates comment on these noodles in the classically stereotypical way, making fun of Eddie for eating worms. Despite enjoying his mother's cooking, at home he has both the naivety and audacity to ask her for white people lunch. Would Lunchables build up his much-needed street cred at school? Surprisingly, she obliges him. After dinner, they drive over to a Western supermarket together and literally stop in their tracks when they see how large the building is. If you get lost, try to find a white family. You will be safe there until I can find you, Eddie's mom tells him. I feel for Eddie and for the children of immigrants that came before me. Asian lunches packed from home were a norm for many of my classmates. At my school, we weren't judged for our parents' Asian cooking, but we were praised for it here in America. The generation before might not have imagined this could be possible so soon. I feel for Eddie's mom and the parents that came before mine, preparing food in a desire for their children to understand their heritage while also not wanting to unnecessarily ostracize them. I think about my dad trying pizza for the first time in Taiwan and then really eating pizza for the first time in America. I think about how food is often a gateway into our cultural initiations. Every now and then, I suddenly remember these Pizza Fridays and call up my dad to see if he wants to get a slice of pep. I'm reminiscing, but it's more than just a sweet memory of a parent's actions or a cheat day craving for something cheesy. It's a reminder that a yellow cardboard box need not be used to prove my American identity. I could have one in the other. Noodles and Lunchables. They were both American lunches and they tasted better reheated. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Waverly. That was really vivid and Proustian, and I feel like every time I look at a Lunchables pizza now, a little bit of that memory is going to be vicariously unlocked for me. Thank you, everyone, for reading. That concludes our program of readers for the night. Shantae and Stephen. Our program, yeah. Let's give it.
Take this time to invite any artists who are here who had their image published. I know there's at least one. But if you would like to come up and speak about your image, we have a color insert. We have some fantastic black and white photos. So if you'd like to come up and speak to those and maybe talk a little bit about your inspiration or how that image came to you, now's the time. We'd love to hear from you. Anyone?
Yeah, anyone?
No. Yeah, read your phones.
I arrived a bit late.
Okay.
But I had a phone.
Yeah.
Oh, come on up. What's your name? Naomi. Nice to meet you. Come on up.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. Thank you so much for sharing your work. I'm just gonna hold this. My name is Naomi. And I believe my poem is on page 53. It's very short. It's called Blind. Your eyes on me, I feel them burn. If I had my way, I would return your gaze, but I was taught never to stare into the sun.
So yeah, we just want to thank you guys for coming, and let's give one more round of applause to everyone involved with everything. Students who created the magazine, including the visual media design students in English. It's great collaboration, great working with you guys. Thank you for all the hard work. And yeah, maybe just one more announcement. If you are a contributor and don't have a magazine, grab one and make sure Faye with the notebook has your name. If you were a student in the forum class and didn't get one, same. And if you'd like to buy one, you can grab a magazine and take it up to the cash register and pay for it up there. So thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Did you get a copy? Yeah. So your copy? Nice. Yes, I do. Yeah.
How's my trip?
Nice. I want to get
I don't know, like, if I was to try to reach out to something negatively, I don't, that's not, great. Yeah. Very, very beginning.
Can we hold Gloria?
I think so. Gloria, we're doing group photo. I don't know if you, yeah, you can hear. I'll hold Gloria. Are we good? Let's put Gloria in front. There you go.
Yeah, it's time enough.
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. How many am I doing? Okay, 1, 2, 3. You don't need your shoes. 1, 2. All right.
All right.
Are you guys?
Yeah, we are.
I feel like you got, pretty much on the list? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it's kind of a, little bit of an analysis.
Are you here? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So like that's all. Yeah, we also do. But
Oh, we have to clean up. We got pretty.
no, I mean, yeah, we gotta make sure. One of us have to get the thing. I think, that request. But, I think that's not so much. I should probably say good night to Gloria. Well, Gloria, I hope you had a good night.
Oh, it was great. It was really great.